Andy and his engineer friend come and pick me up in the parking lot of the arena. We head off to his engineer's house where they proceed to play me all this stuff they're working on together. Amazing, like creative spoken word, weirdo avant-garde soundtrack stuff. Yeah, we passed a guitar back, and we didn't have two guitars, but we passed one guitar back and forth between each other. And I was like, how do you play that song? And he was like, ooh, how do you play that lick? And we were watching goofy YouTube videos and laughing our heads off. And he bought Subway sandwiches, and we just got along like we were two old friends.
He is a musician, guitarist, singer, songwriter, producer, and teacher.
He has toured the world and written with some of the most iconic rock and roll stars.
Steve Conte joins us on our first episode of 2025.
My name is Nancy Magarill. I'm a singer, songwriter, composer, performer, graphic and web designer.
And I'm Peter Michael Marino, and I'm a writer, producer, creator, performer, and educator.
We are New York-based artists you may or may not have heard of.
And we are here to introduce you to other artists you may or may not have heard of. I was telling Nancy earlier, wow, so we're talking to Steve Conte, legendary Steve Conte, and he's going to be bringing up all these bands and names of things I do not know. And Nancy's like, well, just say, hey, I work in comedy. I don't know that. So I'm going to start in the conversation we just had. Nancy said something. I said, oh, you're basically Marnie Nixon. Steve Conte, do you know who Marnie Nixon is?
I know Cynthia Nixon.
You don't know Marnie Nixon?
No, well, this is the thing. I was wondering, what is the last musical you went to see?
The last musical I went to see was like Water for Elephants or something.
I want to see that.
Water, yep. Not like Water for Chocolate, but Water for Elephants. Yeah.
What brought you to that show?
I took my son. Someone actually generously gave me 2 great tickets because they couldn't attend, a good friend of mine, and I took my kid, my 15-year-old.
Oh, that's so great.
And he loved it. And he's an aspiring actor, so, he thought it was amazing, and I thought it was amazing, too.
Gosh, you're like keeping the showbiz family thing going.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that you have a kid in the business. Your family
Did he not learn anything? Did he not learn anything?
He's not going to be a singer or songwriter like me, like I thought he was going to be, because he was writing, at 7 years old, he was writing these great tunes, and we made all kinds of demos, but he's kind of drifted into the musical theater world.
Yeah, but you don't know if he's not going to do that. How old is he?
7, you said, right?
Well, I mean, he's been making up songs since he was, since he could talk, really, since he was like 4, but like cute little things, but like real songs, when he was about 7. I mean, he would come up with a verse, and then I would write the chorus.
You never said to him, when I was your age, I was already playing drums, and then I taught myself guitar. I'm giving a little bit of your bio it's a non-didactic way to share your information. Uh-huh. Who was Marnie Nixon? That is the question, though. So the listeners are dying to know. Marnie Nixon is the singing voice for people like Natalie Wood in West Side Story and what's her face in Not Breakfast at Tiffany's, the other one. I could have danced all night.
Oh, Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn and others. And,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's something new.
She just didn't really do a whole lot of like Broadway musicals and stuff because she was just a person who could sound like other people. Have you done that? Have you done that thing where you're
looping?
Kind of, like coming up with different voices and things. Even for like, I know you did anime and stuff like that. Did you ever lend your voice?
I mean, basically with those kind of things, they just hire me as if it's a song session. I go in and I learn the song and I go in and I sing it on the mic. It's not like looking at dialogue and trying to mouth. I haven't done that.
But have you ever in somebody else's voice?
You mean, has anyone ever asked me to sound like anyone else?
No. Have you ever been the voice for someone else? Someone else was lip syncing to you?
No, I haven't done that. When I was doing commercials, I did a bunch of, for a couple of years, after my band Company Wolves got dropped from Mercury Records. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? I got no money. And somebody said, hey, man, you got a great rock voice. You should, try and sing on some commercials. So I would go into these sessions, and up in the corner of the lyric, it would have a note, like, for what they wanted the singer to sound like. It would say, like, Counting Crows, Spin Doctors, whatever. And
a point of reference.
It kind of I wouldn't have imitate the guy, but I couldn't stray too far. I couldn't be doing James Brown, in other words, if I was, supposed to be Chris Barron. And then when I did the anime stuff, I remember Yoko Kanno, the composer, saying to me once, I was being too emotive when I was singing, and she was like, no. And she doesn't speak very good English. She said, no, make more cold, like Sting.
That's actually really good direction.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I don't know if Sting would like this too much.
I was trying to think, it was Jason Page, one of our guests on this illustrious. Oh, of course. All right. So he did the if you've got heartburn, indigestion, diarrhea. And I believe he wrote it and sang it.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, Jason. We were doing commercials around the same time, around that same time period.
Yeah.
Maybe I met him through you, Nancy. I don't remember.
Possibly. And Russ Irwin.
Yeah,
Right.
I probably met him.
You know, you've made it
The whole crew.
when the advertising agency is, calls and says, like, we need someone who sounds like Steve Conte. We need a Steve Conte type. And you're like, that's literally me.
Do you get that?
Okay, I have here's the career of a New York studio singer in 5 steps.
Yes.
Right? Who the hell is Steve Conte? It might be less than 5 steps. Hold on. I'll count them. I'll count them after.
Sorry, we're not known for counting.
Who the hell is Steve Conte? Get me Steve Conte. Get me a young Steve Conte. Who the hell is Steve Conte?
And by the way, that was 4 steps.
That's the arc.
The 5th step is no phone call. There's no outreach. That's
Right.
the 5th step.
So let's tell everybody who the hell is Steve Conte.
Oh,
Give a little bit about who you are, what you do for the people that don't know you.
well, let me ask you this. How many, where's your listenership extend to? All over the world? Is it a worldwide thing?
It is a worldwide thing. We are international.
we're not limiting ourselves to just the United States.
Okay. Well, not that people would actually. Some people probably know me better in Europe and Japan than they know me here.
Good.
Because you know what happens here with the radio and all that stuff, and rock and roll and good music in general. Anyway, I'm Steve Conte. I am a singer, a songwriter, a guitar player, a musician, a producer. I teach sometimes, and I've been doing it since I was. Well, you've done your research.
7 years old, picked up drums. A few years later, picked up a guitar.
I was a drummer after I heard the Beatles' Revolver. I wanted to be Ringo.
Another Beatles person.
There has to be a Beatles reference in every episode. Yep.
Yeah, it's just standard.
Yeah.
With people of a certain age, may I say.
And of a certain gender.
Maybe.
Yeah, mostly.
Girls don't like the Beatles?
Not like
They were
boys
screaming
do.
for the Beatles.
No. Girl musicians.
Oh, girl musicians.
Are not as obsessed
Oh,
with
yeah.
the Beatles as male musicians
Probably
are.
not,
It's
yes.
Joni and
Joni and
Right.
Tori and
Carole King, who you also worked with.
Carole King.
Kate and
I didn't know you worked with Carole King.
I played Chains with Carole King.
Ooh.
Her song that the Beatles covered.
Yeah.
We always going right back to the Beatles.
We're like now 3 degrees away from the actual Beatles.
I am 1 degree from a Beatle.
Oh,
And
what is
how
it?
is that?
Well, I'm derailing this your last question a little bit, but we can come back to it if you
Sorry.
remember what it was.
We're in no rush.
This is what the whole podcast is, just bouncing around.
Brian Ray and I have a band.
And who is Brian Ray?
Brian Ray is Paul McCartney's guitar player.
Okay.
He's been playing guitar with Paul for 15 or 20 years now. We are both on Little Steven Van Zandt's record label, Wicked Cool Records. We both we heard each other's songs on the Underground Garage radio station where Steven plays us both. And he reached out to me and he really liked my stuff and I heard his stuff and I liked his and he said we should do something. So we co-wrote a song that was the B-side of one of his singles and then we said, hey, let's start a project because we both love all the same kind of music. And now we have a project called The Earls of Babylon.
Oh, I like that name.
Yeah, we released our first single, My Little Frankenstein, right around Halloween. And it's a vinyl. Well, it's also, on the all the streaming sites, but it's we have limited edition monster green vinyl.
Oh, I was going to say it has to be color, right? It's color vinyl. Yeah.
7-inch. And the B-side is a cover of High Ho Silver Lining, the Jeff Beck 1966 single.
Wow.
What made you choose that?
Because Jeff had just died and we wanted to make a tribute to him. And it's more of a pop song. He's kind of known for either really heavy bluesy stuff with Rod Stewart or his jazzy sort of instrumentals. So this was like a pop. Mickey Most, if you're hip to that producer, he produced a lot of those bands from England around mid-60s. So anyway, that's my Brian Ray story. And that puts me 1 degree of separation from a Beatle.
Oh.
Yeah.
And also, oh no, hold on. Hold on. I am on a record with Ringo.
Oh!
What color is that record?
I am on, and not just like I'm on one song in the album and he's on another song. We are on the same track.
Whoa.
Me on guitar and Ringo on drums on Mark Rivera's record.
So now I'm going to tell you my 1 degree of separation. So years ago, I was house sitting on 81st and Riverside, and I was working at the Hard Rock Cafe at the time.
Oh my God.
We heard some very high profile kids were coming in to stay in the city, and they needed people to take them around or something like that. And it was Ringo's son.
Oh, Zach.
And we ended up all hanging out, and they came over and we all got high and all this shit in this apartment on 81st and Riverside, taking out our binoculars and looking at people having sex on the rooftops. And that was my degree of separation.
Lovely.
I don't know how many degrees. I guess that's 1 degree, right?
Well,
Because it was Starkey, Jason Starkey is who it was.
That's Zach Starkey.
Is it Zach Starkey?
Well, was it the drummer, Zach, who plays with The Who?
I thought it
maybe
was
he's got another
Ringo's.
son. Maybe he's got another son. I don't know. I've met Zach as well.
So it might have been Zach and Ringo's son.
Ringo's son is Zach.
Whose son were you talking about?
Starkey is
That's
Ringo's son.
Yeah.
Right. I
Two.
thought you said it was someone else. Who,
Zach Starkey.
I'm pretty sure it was Ringo's son.
Yeah, but his name is Zach Starkey.
Ringo's last name is Starkey, not Stark.
Yes.
Yes.
But
So his son
I
is...
literally didn't put that together until right now. Good job,
yeah,
Pete.
no, I knew that. That's why you confused me. I thought you said somebody else.
You're high.
I thought you said it was somebody else's son.
Actually, I'm high, but
Oh my God.
you're more
I
high.
should be high. God, editing this one is going to be fun.
But my connection, and it's hard to quantify, but it does fit. I can be part of this gang. I think I told you, might have told you this, Nancy, that I went to see my friend Leanne Best, who's in the show on Broadway called The Hills of California, and Leanne Best's uncle is Pete Best. So I just bested Ringo Starr. Actually, I just bested.
I guess you
bested
can say you
Ringo
bested.
Starr. Okay, that's all I'm going to do.
You're rad bested.
Yeah, I'm red bested.
So Steve, let's also talk about your new record that you're working on.
Okay, we'll skip right from my 7-year-old drummer self to my
Yeah, we don't need to
however
go
old
into
I
all
am
the
now.
years in between, right?
Don't worry, we'll
many
get
years,
to it.
many miles, almost 40 years in New York City.
You have a Wikipedia page. We'll just send people to that on the episode.
Yeah, right.
They have my wrong birthday, but anyway, I'm sticking.
Is that
to
deliberate?
It. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Was that deliberate? Did you edit that, or
I didn't touch it. No.
Oh, that's.
I think you can't edit your own Wikipedia page. They make other people.
You hire people to do that.
Well, you can hire people, but I think if you do it yourself, because I have tried, they won't let you. Because, you could make up your own shit.
Right.
That's true.
Well, that is where the world's heading anyway.
I'm sure plenty of politicians do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, don't worry. We can be nonlinear. Just tell us about this record. Like, how do you decide to make I'm not a music, I don't do what you do. So I would not know, and I'm assuming some listeners also would not know, like, how do you just decide we're going to make a record? Is it going to have a theme? Is there going to be, what style of music is it going to be? Artwork? What color is the vinyl going to be? I mean, how long is it going to take? Who's in charge of this thing?
What is your process, Steve
How do you
Conte?
do this?
Okay. Well, I can tell you some are easier than others. This one was, once I got the idea, it all came together pretty quickly. And my idea was, one of my favorite bands in the world is XTC. And the main songwriter, Andy Partridge, has always been one of my songwriting heroes. And he's up for me and for many others. He's right up there with Lennon, McCartney, Townsend, Costello. He's that good. He's a genius, brilliant. The melodies, the lyrics, the arrangements, the instrumentation, the ideas. He's just insanely creative. And a few years ago, I became friends, 10 years ago maybe, I became friends with Steve Lillywhite, producer, 15 years ago. And we met at a party and we became really fast friends. And we remained friends ever since. He would give me great quotes on my albums and I subbed for him on his DJ at East Village Radio, and we did all kinds of stuff together. One day we're chatting on Twitter, and because he moved, I think he's English, but he moved to where does he live now? Indonesia, somewhere, Jakarta.
Does he have room for all of us?
Yeah, you never know.
Right.
You might have to do that. We were chatting, and I mentioned Andy and XTC, and he's like, "Oh, Andy's on Twitter right now. We could rope him into this conversation." And next thing I knew, he's like, brings Andy in, and the three of us are chatting back and forth. And Andy knows who I am because my ex-guitar repairman, when I found out the guy was making a guitar for Andy, I'm sorry, let me turn my phone off.
I'm stuck with ex-guitar repairman, by the way. I love that. Like, That character needs to be in a sitcom
Well,
somewhere.
well, he's a luthier and a repairman. But I found out he was making a guitar for Andy. Talking about skipping around here, going back to 2003. And I said, I can't believe you're working with Andy. You have to give him this record. And my brother and I had just made the Conte's Bleed Together album, which you might remember, Nancy.
Yep.
And we gave that to him. And word came back. This is pre, social media and all that. And so he didn't have a way of contacting me, but word came back that he really liked it. Skip forward to 2010 or 14, whatever it was. I'm chatting with Andy now on Twitter.
On an app that we're not, I'm going to bleep out.
On X.
Right. That
Leon,
hopefully you're not on
Leon's
anymore,
site.
but that's another conversation.
Yeah, I haven't been able to quite get off of it yet. I'm trying to make all my people follow me.
Yeah, it's hard, Nancy.
To the other
I
side.
know, but
They got to follow me to Threads and Blue Sky, and as soon as my numbers get up to where they were,
you gotta
I'm
set
gone.
yourself up.
I hear it. I hear you.
And so many other people, haven't left either that I interact with all the time, and they're not on the other sites. Anyway, Andy says to me, we're typing, pleasantries back and forth, and he goes, you stole my dream job. I went, what? What are you talking about? He goes, guitar player in the New York Dolls. I went, what? This, balding, bespectacled, kind of paunchy Englishman. I love him to death. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but I just couldn't picture him being in the New York Dolls. And but apparently it was before XTC was a real band. They had like a couple of pre-incarnations of the band, and he had really long hair. And so he told me this whole story about how we sent David Johansen a love letter. Like, I want to be your man. I'm going to call myself Lord Andrew English. He had these stories. So we continued chatting on Twitter for a while. I think we got to the private message stage, and then he wrote me a note one day. I don't know how he knew this. I might have made an announcement that Michael Monroe, the guy I play with now, was going to be on tour with Alice Cooper, and we were going to play in Swindon, where he's from in England. Swindon is sort of like I don't know how to compare it to a town here. It's like the Office, the English version of the Office. Ricky Gervais. Slough.
Slough. Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like a nothing.
Yeah. What is our version of that? Is
Yeah, we do have one wherever the Office is in the Steve Carell version.
Right.
That.
Yeah.
But he writes and yes, I mean that's why they had so many problems getting taken seriously because no real musicians ever came from Swindon before. It was always London or Manchester or Birmingham. But he says, I hear you're playing my shithole town. I'll buy you lunch. And I was like, screenshot immediately. Andy Partridge is buying me lunch. And we were doing the tour, and I went to, this is a really long story. I'm sorry. Hope it's
all right. No, it's great. It's very interesting.
We do the sound check. Andy and his engineer friend come and pick me up in the parking lot of the arena. We head off to his engineer's house where they proceed to play me all this stuff they're working on together. Amazing, like creative spoken word, weirdo avant-garde soundtrack stuff.
Oh, that's so my thing.
Yeah, we pass a guitar back, and we didn't have two guitars, but we passed one guitar back and forth between each other. And I was like, how do you play that song? And he was like, ooh, how do you play that lick? And we were watching goofy YouTube videos and laughing our heads off. And he bought Subway sandwiches, and we just got along like we were two old friends. And so...
And let me just also interject. You are a phenomenal guitarist. Wow, see?
He brought a guitar to the party.
It's just there. He's surrounded.
I hope you like my blinding riff.
Monster.
Yeah, and then after, just to finish how great this day was, we had this great time. They dropped me back off at the arena. I play my show with Monroe, and then Alice Cooper plays, and Alice invites me up on stage to do Schools Out.
Oh my God.
I was like,
hello, this is the day.
That was one of the greatest musical days of my life, right? So I'm thinking about this. I do an album called Bronx Cheer in 2021, right in the middle of the damn pandemic. I did that album for Little Steven. It's a really great album. I was so proud of it. And I got to play one gig because of the pandemic. We played the album release show at the Cutting Room in New York and then shut down. So I was like, this next record's really got to be something special. I don't know how I'm going to top that record, right? And
isn't that the question every artist asks after every project?
Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute, Andy. And I thought, let me just ask him if he'll write a single, because the first thing I did with Wicked Cool Records, that's Steven's label, was I did a single. My song was Gimme Gimme Rockaway. I did that in like 2017. And then I put it on the Bronx Cheer album later, 3 years later. But I thought we were just going to do another single, right? Just 2 songs. So I figured I'll come up with a B-side, but let me see if I can get Andy to just write the single with me. So I wrote him an email, and we've been emailing each other once in a while. I said, Andy, would you like to write my next Wicked Cool Records single with me? And I had been listening to all these interviews on YouTube and different places where he had this album called My Failed Songwriting Career. Because he had written so many songs with other artists who their managers, their labels thought it would be great to write with Partridge because he's such a brilliant songwriter. But a lot of these people never recorded the songs. And I was hearing these interviews where he was so disheartened by this. And I said, I'm gonna make it different for him, you know? And so, and he said, well, when I wrote him that, he went, well, Steve, you know, I sort of swore off writing with other people.
Wow. Oh.
But it's not a no. And I went, yes. Yeah. So I ran back to my studio and I like created this really cool, like Beatles XTC psychedelic sounding track. And I sent it and it had melodies and violins and all kinds of cool stuff. And I sent it to him and he was like, that's great, but it sounds too finished. Why don't we start something from scratch?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Whoa.
And I was like, yes.
Right, because it's not really collaboration if you've already done almost everything.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, he could have wrote lyrics or a melody or something, you know, would have been 50-50. But he goes, we'll do a Zoom. So I used my wife's computer. I have this lame 40-minute, you know, free Zoom, but she's a teacher. So she has like, you can go for hours, you know. So we did a 2-hour Zoom and we wrote, instead of 1 song, we wrote 4 songs.
Jesus.
In 2 hours.
I mean, we didn't finish them, you know, start to finish, but we had the germ, like title, melody, verse, chorus of 4 songs pretty much. And I went away and did demos of them. I added bridges. I added second verses. I added outro, you know.
Yeah.
And when you say you did demos, were you doing full tracks like drums, bass, guitar, everything?
Yeah. You know, my home studio here, I'm talking to you on my home studio right now. Actually, it's a MacBook Pro. I have an Apollo Twin mic pre 2-channel, great universal audio thing. I got not all my guitars, but I have acoustics and electrics here, but I use Logic and Pro Tools and I have loops and, you know,
it's exactly what kind of thing I have.
Yeah. It's not the record, but, you know, it sounds really good. So, yeah, I did demos of these songs and would send them to him, and then he would send me his comments back, and then I'd tweak. And we did that with the 4 songs. And I sent them to Little Steven, and Little Steven is so busy between Springsteen, the radio station, the teaching foundation that he has, the, you know, TV, films, all this stuff. He either didn't have time to listen or didn't like it, I thought. I thought, well, let's just be safe. Let me just assume he didn't like it and not that he was just too busy to listen. So I said, that'll give me a good excuse to go back to Andy and say, we need more.
Right? Sly.
So I said, hey, Andy, I'm not sure that the Little Steven is vibing on these songs. You know, I said, let's put on our like more psychedelic garage band hat. Because that's, you know, Steven's all into, you know, if you ever seen his band, everybody's got like these swirly psychedelic shirts and the girls have afros and big bell bottoms and, you know, it's all about 60s psychedelia. And XTC had done an album called Dukes of Stratosphere where they basically recreated the sound of records from 1967. And I said, let's put our Dukes hat on and write something else. And we came up with 4 more songs. Actually, to each session, we each brought 1 song in so that we weren't just sitting there going, duh, we would do.
But when you say you brought a song in or you had a song.
Well, we brought an idea, you know.
What is like I have an idea for a song that kind of is in the vibe of blah, blah, blah song. No. Or it's like, I have an idea about a song about like missing someone.
No, here's the idea that can I play something? Right? I came to him with this piece of a song that I had for like literally 20 years. I loved the chorus. I could never come up with a verse. My brother John and I had a band called Crown Jewels. We tried to play in that band. Yeah. And we could never get a verse that I liked. And I said, if anyone can solve this problem, it'll be Andy. So I played him this. I went, this is what I got, Andy. 4th of July, 4th of July. And that's all I had. But to me, that was a really good start.
That
and
sounds like an
good,
example of bringing in a song.
Yeah.
I get that. Sounds cool.
But that's all I had. That's not a song. That's
But that's
a chorus.
something that sparks. That's how you collaborate.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it works.
And immediately, as soon as I played that, he went, "Oh, I know where the verse should go," and he was completely right. I never would have thought of this. It was really dead simple.
That's brilliant.
It was like under my nose the whole time, and I mixed off, And he went, "Well, it should do this for the verse." I'm liberated. I'm soaring high. I'm flying fortress, knocking flowers in your sky. I added some of those. I added some of those. Tweak the melodies a little bit, but yeah, he knew to go. It's in D. He knew to go to the G chord for the verse. And I was like, damn, why didn't I think of that? But
now let me ask you a question: are we going to be able to play this on the episode without paying royalties?
I don't. Well, it's my record, but
we'll talk about it.
The master is owned by Little Steven. We're not playing my record. I'm just playing it live.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it.
No, you can play that. I can. Oh, anybody can play anything on. These people get signed off of YouTube by doing cover versions of other people's songs.
I was going to say, what we're doing really is education, so it's totally it falls under.
Satire.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, what we're doing is news. We're doing news, so it falls under. Yeah.
So that's really wonderful. Yeah. What a great! Yeah. I mean, imagine all of the songs we all have in our boxes that we haven't finished. We just need to send them to Andy Partridge. That's really the bottom line.
Oh, I'm hoping we can still do more. But actually, 5 of the so I'm skipping around here.
So wait, where are you with the record right now? Are you still working on the record with him, or is that record done?
That record's been out.
Oh, the record with Andy Partridge?
Yeah, the Concrete Jangle.
Oh, okay.
That song that I just played you, 4th of July, was the first single. But that came out last summer. So that came out, let's see, did that come out?
Wait, I thought you were working with him right now on a new record.
My last record is what I worked on.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's my current record.
Gotcha.
It's a 2024 record.
Okay.
Right? It came out May 30th, 2024. But I started releasing singles in June of 2023. And my first single, 4th of July, came out just in time for the 4th of July. Hey.
So you guys did this all during the pandemic?
No, but he's in England, I'm in the Bronx. So,
might as well
we had
have
to do it by Zoom.
Right.
But no, it was 2022.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I started recording. Yeah, I think I started recording in fall 2022. Yeah, and then I had at least finished the first single by early 2023. I was still mixing the rest of the album because I had some time to do that. And then we would release a single every couple of months. So I did 4th of July in the summer, then I did Shoot a Girl with No Name in the fall, and then Shoot Out the Stars. And
so
then
you
so I don't know if you've heard these songs from the Underground Garage, but you should check the record out.
You schedule this? You
the label does that.
Yeah.
The label does that. But
the label is also booking your gigs as well?
No.
That's you?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, are you also touring? Well, how is it working with you touring? Because right now you're playing with Michael Monroe right now, right?
Past 14 years, I've been making it work.
I actually can't remember. I remember when I was living in Paris, I think you were playing with Willy DeVille. I have such a great memory of you from Paris. Do you remember us being on the top of the Eiffel Tower with it lightning?
Yes, I do.
That was so great. We were.
I remember the Café Artistes.
Café des Artistes.
The Bistro.
Oh, right. Bistro des Artistes and then the Lizard Lounge, the Marais. Those were the 2 venues I was playing at in Bookings.
I was on a tour break from Willy DeVille then. Yeah, I make it all work. But wait a minute. Now we're getting far away. Can we?
From what? I don't even know
where we... I love how you're leading us back.
I want to pull it back to the record just so we can complete talking about the record. So yes, the Concrete Jangle. The Concrete Jangle is my most recent album. Came out in
May.
In 2023.
May of 2024, right? So the full album. And that one has side A. It came out on vinyl, orange vinyl.
Ooh, yes.
And side A are 5 Conte Partridge songs. So I finished 5. We finished 6 songs. So I have 3. I have 2 more waiting to be finished for my next album. So I basically have 3 songs left over from the Partridge sessions.
Oh, that worked out well.
But we finished 5 songs, and it wasn't like I was trying to front load the album and put all the I don't even know if they're the best songs, but the album seemed to flow that way with the 5 Partridge co-writes on side A and then the all 100% Conte songs on side B. But, I knew that I had to really bring my A game and bring my most melodic, Beatle-y, because this guy is, that kind of level, and I mean, I had been making kind of rough and tough rock and roll records.
But I kind of feel like you always bring your A game. I don't feel like you ever.
Yeah, I do. But I mean,
cheat this one.
No. But I mean, but stylistically, I think it's really kind of the first album that I've done. I think people were surprised, like, "Whoa, you do that too?" Like very melodic, Beatle-y stuff. So I knew I had to pick 5 of my songs that went with the 5 Partridge songs. So you asked how I put an album together. I knew, number one, I wanted to write with Partridge. I thought it was just going to be 1 song. It ended up being 5. So I'm like, well, there's the core of the album right there, these 5 songs. So now I got to pick 5 songs of my own that go with that. So let me pick the most like psychedelic, Beatle-y, melodic, nothing that sounds like the New York Dolls or, the Stones or, nothing bluesy. Because I made tons of records like that. So that's how I chose the songs. And then, to make the whole package complete, then, you're not going to name it, The Dirt or something. It's got to be something kind of not psychedelic, but evocative of the songs on it. Right? So I had a list of album titles. I went through. No. The Concrete Jangle. Oh, it's like the Concrete Jungle, but it's jangly, like jangly pop, guitar pop music, right? So, of course, tons of publications have not read very well. And Steve Conte's new album, The Concrete Jungle. I was like, I would never call an album The Concrete Jungle. It's so banal and like obvious. You people are obvious. Read.
And thank you for having me on your show.
It's an A, not a U. So, I picked the name The Concrete Jangle, and I was like, okay, jangly pop. I mean, it's still rougher than jangle pop, but
I love that jangle. Like, it's such a great kind
jangle
of
pop. Yeah, I don't really have any. Usually you associate that with Rickenbackers and 12 strings, but
don't you, Pete?
Every day, practically.
By the way, let's tell everybody. Let's tell everybody what a Rickenbacker is.
I thought everyone knew. A Rickenbacker is actually a German. Was originally made in Germany, and the Beatles. There they are again.
Bastards.
Used Rickenbackers in their early days, and actually throughout the career. But when they played in Germany at the Star Club, where they famously started before they came back to England and became the Beatles, because they were the Silver Beatles at first, and they backed this guy Tony Sheridan, and there's a whole don't get me started on Beatle history.
Documentaries.
Anyway,
take care of that.
Don't worry, we won't.
They got these German, they got these German guitars, and Paul still plays the Hofner bass. Hofner is a German
which
guitar,
your brother plays. I actually associate that bass with John, because he played that on one of my records.
He loves McCartney too. And John got the Rickenbacker. And it's just a great sounding electric guitar that is not like big and tough like a heavy metal guitar, like a Les Paul that Jimmy Page used, or it's
kind of a
jangly.
pop electric.
It's jangly. I mean, you can play like open chords, And it's so that's a Rickenbacker. So I knew I had to, make the artwork reflect that. And so, the cover, he asked about artwork. The cover, I don't even have one around here if you haven't seen it. Can I walk away from the thing for a minute?
Where'd he go?
I know.
Nancy,
everybody, Steve Conte has left the room. Elvis has left the building.
All that was left of him was a shaking tambourine.
So it's so jangly.
That's that tambourine made an appearance on the record.
I'm working a Christmas gig now, and I have to hear that Paul McCartney song.
Simply having a wonderful Christmas
and like
time.
I heard it so many times, and I was like, "How come this guy is trying to sound like Paul McCartney?" And then, like during one of my breaks, I looked it up, and I was like, "That's actually Paul." Like he wrote that. It's so bad.
I just want to say, for the record, I hate Christmas music. And it's not because I'm a Jew. I just hate it. It's like everywhere.
You're not, I mean, that's like saying, I have to admit something. My name is Nancy.
Yeah,
like everyone already assumes you hate Christmas music.
No, I don't. Oh,
Listeners,
look how beautiful.
I hope so.
I wish we could show that.
It's like
That's
like a
great.
tattoo inspired, I'd say.
Yeah,
and there's a guitar with like the cityscape. I don't know if it's a specific city or it's different. It's different landmark buildings from different cities. Is that what's happening?
Well, I had done an album a couple of years ago called Steve Conte NYC, and my art director came up with a very similar cover like this, but it said Steve Conte, and then this banner here it said NYC. And I wanted to do, remember how the band Chicago used to use the same lettering for the cover of every album, but they put it, Chicago on a piece of wood,
of course.
Or Chicago like melting colors, or it'd be Chicago on a chrome thing. I thought,
some branding
let me do a theme thing and do a similar album cover, but make it fit this
and
music.
that will look great on a t-shirt and a jacket.
Hello.
We lost him again. I
guess I'm going to have to edit all of this out.
Oh,
yeah, those are nice. Yeah.
Looking good.
Merch. Well, that's how artists.
Merch. I got merch.
So
we got merch.
Let's talk briefly because I don't want to keep you too much longer. But I want to talk.
I got time,
but I don't for editing purposes.
Believe it or not, we do other things besides of this podcast, Steve Conte.
But I do want to say, because this is an example of, let's talk about where profits have gone now. You have to sell merch and your vinyl records because streaming has taken away so much of the songwriting income, right? So I just said it.
Yeah, I mean, you can get 1 million streams on Spotify and make $100
It's
maybe.
insane.
So yeah, what I do is, I can buy these records luckily there's a big resurgence in vinyl. Well, I don't know how big it is, but there has been hipsters buy vinyl, especially colored vinyl, and they collect it. And
so do people who like rock music.
Yeah. Or maybe dance music. I don't know who buys them, but there are record stores. If you go to Rough Trade, and there's one near Radio City. There's one downtown, I think, or in Brooklyn. I have Mariah Carey records. But
that's shocking. Actually, you have Mariah Carey records?
No,
they do. I thought
even Mariah Carey.
Even Mariah Carey makes vinyl.
I knew that couldn't.
She's popular during this time, Nancy. She probably has one of your favorite Christmas songs.
I want for Christmas. Okay, so nails on the chalkboard for you.
No, actually, I think she has a gorgeous voice. I just hate the song. I'm over it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm over it.
Where was it? What was I saying? Streaming, blah, 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 merch. So what I do is, we make CDs and vinyl, and I buy them from the label at my artist price, and then I sell them to my fans through Bandcamp.
Oh, that's
which is
great.
where I sell my stuff, and I sign them to give them even more value for people that want that. I don't sell them unsigned. If they want them unsigned, you can go to Amazon and get them. And, but this way I can, make as much as the maximum amount that I can make. That's how we musicians pay our rent these days,
Right.
We sell, we buy T-shirts for whatever the cost of that is. And, it's insane what T-shirts cost at shows. I still sell mine for like $25, but if you go to a Stone show, they're like 50, 60, 70.
And I'm just going to say, listener, this is a great T-shirt. Definitely worth buying. It is. It's a really nice looking T-shirt.
Yeah, the design is like they're kind of New York City buildings, but not really. I wanted to not make it.
It's urban.
I won't make it nondescript. It's urban.
Concrete. It's concrete.
It's concrete. Yeah, Concrete Jangle. That's why I wanted to do that. And instead of my Les Paul Jr. and Rats and Skulls that I had on my NYC album, I traded it for roses and a tambourine and a Rickenbacker guitar and some pot leaves and
that's cool.
Nicer things, more psychedelic things.
Sounds like a great winter record for people to be listening to.
Absolutely.
Please
They'll be hearing this. They'll be hearing this in a few weeks, and it will be winter.
Oh yeah, stay inside and have a nice glass of wine if you imbibe, and spin it.
Since it is winter and since most people will be trapped inside at this point, just like
most people on the East Coast or in the North.
Oh, Yeah, the people on the West Coast are out exercising.
And Florida, where I
yeah.
just was.
Venice
Right.
Beach.
Down in Florida, they're out.
And in Brazil.
Yeah,
they're out
right. Oh,
hating
yeah,
things.
there.
Brazil,
We are
they're,
international after all.
preparing
And
for.
in Spain.
We're so huge. All right. Anyway, so take us to like, where's like a place that you played that like the people there, like you would just always want to go back there because those people just have a thing about them that you just don't find anywhere else. Take us on a little global trip of a place or two.
Well, there's some that you would be very surprised about.
Good.
And there's some that
We're controversial all of a sudden.
Japan is insane.
I would imagine
right.
that.
They really
come-
appreciate all types of American music.
Yeah, and they
very
come
much.
they come to your hotel and they hang around the lobby and wait for you to get up and come downstairs for breakfast. And they're there. Hello, Steve.
Oh, I love
and
that.
every day they have new photos of you. They take photos. If you play there 2 nights in a row, they take photos of you. Go get them developed overnight or in 1 hour. Actually, somebody
they have a printer
went to a 1 hour photo, got them developed and blown up, and then brought them to my hotel
to sign.
When I just got home from the gig and I'm wearing the same clothes and they got the photo.
Wow.
Steve, please sign my photo. And then they give you gifts.
Aww.
You know, I come home with tons of like gifts. Sometimes I end up giving them to my kids because they're like cutie toys, you know, like Japanese people love those things.
Cute things.
So they're so enthusiastic. Complete opposite of Chinese audiences who are told to stay seated by armed policemen with sticks that will hit you if you stand up. Yeah. We played there with the New York Dolls. That was insane. But so Japan is great. Germany, they're insane. Like they just love. They go crazy. Italy too. Spain too. But the place you'd be really surprised about is Boise, Idaho.
No, I would not be surprised by that.
Who would ever think one of maybe the craziest New York Dolls show we ever played was in Boise, Idaho?
That does not surprise me at all.
Maybe it's because there's nothing to do there, but you would think mountains and horses and
big
potatoes.
It's
and,
a special event. Yeah.
Maybe they're just all farmers and farmer mentality. We went to a bar there. There was gun commercials on the TV.
Right.
But they were like in a crazy, artful, freaky, weirdo kind of way, which I never expected from Idaho people. But thank you, Idaho.
I think there's all kinds of people everywhere.
Well, the reason I'm surprised about that is because, what we usually say with bands like New York Dolls and Michael Monroe, who was in Hanoi Rocks, with these kind of glammy, punky, androgynous bands, like we go over big on the coasts.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the country, more conservative thinking type, working type people. There's nothing wrong with that. But, it's mainly, we play New York, Boston, LA, Seattle, and in the middle of the country, there's this, there's Chicago, there's Minneapolis, but I never expected that from Idaho. I thought it was farm country,
I think it's everywhere. I think they're finding you. Those people that are looking for bands like you they're going to find you. That's what makes the world go around. I think that's why it's such an interesting time right now, because there really are a lot of great people out there. And I think it's just there's a lot trying to polarize us, but there's more potentially that makes us all come together. And music is a good way to do that.
Well, I think that there's something interesting in that your music, your style of music and your music are the kinds of things that are written to be celebrated, right? They're meant to make you feel and move, and they're not meant to make you chill out and go to sleep necessarily, right? And what the arts is cool at, I guess, and this is a good example of that, is that you are bringing this thing to people who do not normally have that type of outlet. They don't have a place to just jump up and down and be wild and dress like they're 20 years younger and just drink out of a plastic cup and no lyrics. I think that has something to do with why Boise, Idaho would be so surprisingly great.
Well,
that they don't.
But this venue that they're playing at has bands coming in there all the time. Yeah, it's not that they don't have.
Yeah,
this is
where
they
what
go
else?
for this.
It was surprising.
Yeah,
it was surprising that the New York Dolls drew such a big and crazy crowd of people that like that kind of music, and that you don't go see the New York Dolls if you don't know who
That's
they
true.
are, right?
Right,
You know,
right.
they're gender bending,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
guys from the 70s who are probably 50 and 60 years old at that time, which was 2010, or I left the band in 2010. So I was in the band 2004 to 2010. That gig was probably 2008. So,
It'd be interesting to see what it would be like now.
well, you know, people always contact me online. They go, Steve, when are you going to come play, you know, with your band in, you know, fill in the blank, you know, California or Florida, and I go, well, it's really expensive to tour. You know, if I could only, you know, afford to get transportation and
Yep.
a bunch of guys that are willing to get in a van for a couple of weeks, and you know, I have a
Right.
great band, but they have day jobs, and I don't know how long they can leave their day jobs for. We're kind of weekend warriors at this point, you know. Like we go out, we play Friday, Saturday, and they work all week. So you know, it's tough to get out there. And besides, we just played Boston, we played Westchester, we played the city, of course. Working on
It's
gigs,
such a
like, you
different
know,
landscape now.
yeah.
And it's also being older, it's harder to do all the stuff that
Hell
used to
no, man. I'm doing it all. You know,
Well, you are.
I'm trying, but
But you also make money in a lot of different ways.
the
So
funny thing is, I bought a van, minivan. Yeah, like 6
you
years
are a
ago,
dad.
and I thought, you know, if we buy, because we left Manhattan and we moved to the Bronx, and I thought we need a car. So I was like, but we're not going to get, you know, some, like, you know, small car or some four-door sedan or something. We're going to get a van so I can tour with it. And I just had these visions of, like, okay, we're going to pack the van, we're going to, you know, go up to Canada, play Buffalo and Toronto. And you know how many gigs I've done
3.
out of town in the past 6 years since I had this van? 3.
I said it. I called it.
Yeah, maybe 4, but yeah, you know, but that's because I have kiddos, you know, and
Yeah.
they need to go to soccer practice and theater practice, and
It's a balance.
yeah.
I'm just glad that I finally know someone in New York with a van.
Yeah.
Uh-oh,
you,
that
Steve.
phone
Don't
call.
get any ideas.
Thank you, Steve. Hey, thanks for checking us out. Links to today's guest can be found in the show notes.
Don't forget to subscribe, like us, rate us, and tell all your friends about arts and craft.